different ways to achieve agility, but these are different things to look at within your data in your organization in terms of the 3 central access points, and the rest of this presentation will really go into more of the ways in which you can achieve agility within your organization. So these 3 areas really are the 3 starting points of what you have to look at. So one is obviously with any business intelligence solution is the data. Where does it come from? What type of data it is? What structure is it in? You know, what needs to happen in terms of integration and management and data quality and all of that stuff. So that's more of a back end, but then it goes on to, you know, what about the ease of use? So there are different levels of ease of use, but really when we look at self-service models and ease of use, how are people going to access that information, and how is it really agile? Are people able to access up-to-date analytics? Can they add new data sets or new data fields when they need it based on the questions they have? Or are there kind of roadblocks or limitations to how they use data? And depending on your organization, that level of agility might be a little bit different. But as long as you're able to provide the types of answers you need when you need them, then it can really help drive that adoption of agility. And finally, it's important to look at that interactivity in terms of how people interact not only with the data, but also with each other. Because if information is still managed within silos and you have access to analytics and agile analytics, but at the same time, you know, sales and marketing don't speak to each other, and they don't speak to customer experience to really identify, you know, why do we have higher customer churn, or what are people complaining about, what about supply chain, all of these aspects. If people don't talk to each other and interact not only with the solution but with one another, then it really doesn't help achieve that agility within your organization. Next slide. So in terms of bringing this to some steps that you can use within your organization, it's really important to identify what an agile business analytics and infrastructure looks like. And generally, this is something that's out of the scope of this presentation, but it goes from that business side that we've been talking to really that technical aspect, because each vendor that you might evaluate, or depending on what you have internally already, you really have to identify what the differences are, what business analytics not only brings to the table, but what do you need on the back end to get it running. And depending on the solution you use, it might be more time to value or more hardware or software that you might need to really get that started. Secondly, it's really important to get resources and make sure that stakeholders are involved. So in terms of identifying who are the resources, who are the technology people involved, the business people involved, and what do they bring to the table, and how can they really identify what's needed? Because obviously this leads into the third sense in terms of identifying the level of self-service. And that I'll go more into in one of the later slides. But in essence, self-service can mean different things to different organizations based on the level of comfort with technology of the end users. Number 4 is really to define data sources and metrics. And this is almost a challenge within many organizations choosing agility, only because it's almost going backwards in essence of, yes, you have to define data sources and understand generally what you want, but at the same time, you want to be able to not limit yourself and make sure that you have access to broader insights when you need it. Number 5 is enabling collaboration between business functions, which I won't go into so much just because I've discussed it before, and we'll talk a little bit about it in a future slide. But in essence, the more people communicate, the better they are at sharing data, and the better they are at working beyond potential politics within the organization to get there, the more likely you're able to see what's really happening within the organization and how to take advantage of opportunities, or alternatively, to make sure and mitigate risk. And finally, it's really important to identify what goals you're trying to achieve. Most of the time, when you start a business analytics project and you want to become more agile and build that agility within the organization, you still have a goal in terms of business problems that you're facing and maybe some business pains that you haven't figured out how to get over in terms of getting over that step or being able to take advantage of those opportunities. So it's really important to be able to define that in advance so that when you have the outcome, you'll be more prepared to take advantage of it and move your Agile BA solution to the next level.